She's so rotten, she wants migrants picking cotton. We present to you Democratic Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett, who made this shocking argument why America needs immigrants. Roll it, Alfred.
So I had to go around the country and educate people about what immigrants do for this country, or the fact that we are a country of immigrants.
Right.
The fact is, ain't none of y'all trying to go and farm right now. Okay, so I'm lying. Raise your hands.
When the wheels fall off.
You're not.
Jasmine Crockett marched into the spotlight thinking she'd shut down the room with attitude and eyeliner. But Greg Gutfeld and Megyn Kelly came in like a wrecking crew with jokes, facts, and zero patience. Gutfeld roasted her so hard the fire department should have been called, and Megyn dissected her logic like a bad courtroom drama. What unfolded? Let's just say Jasmine brought sass to a chess match and got checkmated on live TV.
That's what she does. She puts out this video of her acting in a certain way, and that's how she fundraises.
We actually did a bit of a deep dive on her after my old colleague from Fox News, Todd Starnes, posted something on X not long ago, Walter. He posted the following. Jasmine Crockett wants you to think she's from the hood, that she grew up on the streets. The exact opposite is true. She attended an exclusive day school where tuition is nearly $35,000 a year. She also attended Rhodes College, a private school where tuition is nearly $55,000 a year. She's cosplaying a gangsta. So we looked up her background. She was born in St. Louis. She's 43. Her dad was a Baptist pastor and a teacher. Her mother worked in a post office. She graduated from Mary Institute and St. Louis Country Day School, one of the most expensive private schools in the city. Indeed, the current tuition, $35,000.
Jasmine Crockett walked into the political arena like she just crash-landed from a Bravo reality show spin-off nobody asked for. Somewhere between a courtroom and a confessional booth, she mistook C-SPAN for Bad Girls Club, Congressional Edition. And let's be honest, if TikTok tantrums and Twitter clapbacks were a legislative skill set, she'd already be Speaker of the House, Majority Leader, and maybe even moonlighting as Secretary of SAS. Unfortunately for Jasmine, real politics involves more than posing dramatically during committee hearings and perfecting the art of the side-eye.
Jasmine Crockett's got another hot take. No blacks and whites on a wedding cake. The Democrats' new chosen one, Jasmine Crockett, is in the news again for an old clip where she attacked Florida Rep. Byron Donalds for marrying a white woman. Roll it, Bertha.
The fact that you sitting around talking about life was better under Jim Crow, is this because you don't understand history? Or literally it's because you married a white woman and so you think that whitewashed you?
That's not very woke, is it?
Now enter Greg Gutfeld and Megyn Kelly to media personalities who don't need mood lighting or emojis to land a hit. They didn't come to play. They came to roast, and not in the cute marshmallow by the fire sense. More like Jasmine Crockett accidentally showed up to a job interview on Shark Tank dressed like a contestant from RuPaul's Drag Race, Filibuster Edition. It wasn't a debate. There were no podiums, no thank you for your question, no spinning red buzzers, just say verbal demolition derby. And Jasmine brought a tricycle to a monster truck rally.
Speaking of leftist hypocrisy and cluelessness, Jasmine Crockett is a rising star amongst the far-left progressives in this country. She's a representative from Houston, Texas, of all places, which makes no sense because she seems to be far too left for Houston, but apparently not because they elected her. It must be like, Orange County in California being like the one outlier in an otherwise uniformly state, like all red with the one blue, all blue with the one red. Okay, so Jasmine Crockett got up at a Los Angeles dinner this past Saturday, and it was hosted by, this is perfect, the Human Rights Campaign.
Let's just be real, Greg Gutfeld has the energy of a snarky raccoon who's read every chapter of the Constitution and weaponized sarcasm into a political tool. Meanwhile, Megyn Kelly stepped in like the principal called to oversee a cafeteria food fight. And Jasmine was the kid flinging mashed potatoes without realizing the cafeteria camera was recording in 4K.
That was 3 years ago. The ones of her just sounding like a normal person talking. 3 years, it's not like that was 20 years, but then she moved to Mississippi for all that time. That was 3 years ago. She sounded like a totally normal person. It's only now she's got her accent and she's going to kick everybody's ass. It's such an affect.
That was 3 years ago. The ones of her just sounding like a normal person talking. 3 years. It's not like that was 20 years. But then she moved to Mississippi for all that time. That was 3 years ago. She sounded like a totally normal person. It's only now that she's got her accent and she's going to kick everybody's ass. It's such an affectation. Crockett's whole political brand hinges on aesthetic outrage. She's the congressional equivalent of putting glitter on a lawsuit. It's loud, it's sparkly, but it doesn't change the fact that underneath, all that glam is a giant nothing burger with extra sass on the side. Her performance wasn't legislative discourse, it was cosplay. Somewhere between I'm reclaiming my time and can I finish my sentence? She seemed to forget that governing requires more than just dramatic pauses and viral-worthy glares.
Jasmine Crockett sits on the Judiciary Committee, and about a month ago, Walter, I testified.
Yes,
before
we saw this.
Yeah, and the hearings, the full committee hearings, are quite long. You can be there for over 4 hours. So, and they let the most junior members ask questions last. So I had to sit for quite a long time. And then at the very end, Jasmine Crockett, who I had never heard before, suddenly started screaming at me and Michael Schellenberger. And when you're a witness in Congress, you have to pay attention to what everybody says, because you never know when you're going to be asked an actual question and allowed to, maybe even allowed to speak. But I could not understand what she was saying. She was moving from one thing to another, and she was doing all that code switching stuff with the y'alls and y'all eyeing on this.
Greg didn't even need to raise his voice, just a few dry observations. And Crockett's entire argument folded like a cheap suit from a campaign donor's discount bin. He treated her policy talking points like expired coupons, invalid, irrelevant, and not redeemable in any serious conversation. Every time Crockett puffed up to deliver what she probably thought was a mic drop, Greg barely blinked. That's not indifference, that's what it looks like when someone's so unimpressed they could do a Sudoku puzzle mid-rant and still have time to roast you before your sentence ends. Megyn Kelly. She's the kind of presence that walks into a room and causes people to sit up straighter without even trying. While Jasmine was busy auditioning for a congressional remake of Mean Girls, Megyn came armed with facts, timelines, receipts, and the ability to eviscerate without raising an octave. Watching her dismantle Jasmine's political persona was like watching an IRS auditor with a grudge. Methodical, brutal, and utterly satisfying. At one point again, this wasn't a debate, so no one had to wait their turn. Kelly dissected Crockett's legislative record like a frog in biology class. Spoiler, there wasn't much to dissect. Jasmine's contribution to American governance reads like a failed group project, where she showed up only to add emojis to the PowerPoint and then claimed she carried the team.
Woman, I've had about enough of her. She wants to be like a member of the squad. She thinks of herself like an AOC. She talks like, she's from the hood. Meanwhile, she grew up in a nice family. She didn't talk like this 3 years ago. 3 years ago, she sounded like you and I sound in this conversation. Like, I'm really excited to be going to Congress. I can't wait to get started on my new job. And now she's like, we need to smack him in the head.
We know that we work for the American people. And what we not gonna do is stand around while they pull this that they trying to pull right now.
Like, what? What do you, we have videotape. Why are you talking like that? No one believes this bullshit. And now she's graduated to acting like a thug. So congratulations, your term in the U.S. Congress is going really well.
That was a great impression.
Meanwhile, Gutfeld highlighted the uncomfortable truth. Crockett doesn't do policy, she does performances. Her entire brand is built on the illusion of resistance, finger snaps, eye rolls, and Instagram captions. It's not that she's unintelligent, that she's intellectually dishonest. Especially when the cameras are rolling and the hashtag potential is high. Crockett doesn't need a debate. She needs a PR manager, and maybe a legislative mentor. Someone who could explain that Congress isn't an improv comedy club with a dress code. There was this moment painfully obvious when Jasmine tried to spin a soundbite about fighting for the people, and Gutfeld didn't even dignify it with a rebuttal. He just paused, smirked, and let the silence expose the nonsense like a spotlight on a mime with no act. That's how you obliterate someone without saying a word. And Megyn, she didn't even flinch. That kind of stone-faced calm only comes from someone who's been through 5 presidential election cycles and survived. More media drama than a real housewife on her 6th divorce. Crockett's fans may call her bold short in the same way. Someone yelling at a drive-thru speaker is bold. Loud doesn't mean right. Volume doesn't equal virtue. And while Jasmine Crockett was busy turning every appearance into a GIF-worthy tantrum, Greg and Megyn were serving the kind of surgical takedown that belongs in a political masterclass. How not to embarrass yourself in public while trying to sound smart.
Your boxcar with people of color?
I do.
Yeah.
My boxcar does not know race, does not know gender. It is a welcome space where only deodorant is not welcome. I like this Jasmine Crockett lady, right?
It's a great name, isn't it, for a villain?
Yeah.
Crockett is the whitest last name you could ever have.
Yeah.
I want to throw that out there.
Sonny Crockett, Miami Vice.
Yes.
It's like the whole thing is like, because I've seen her, she's very well spoken, and then she gets on certain programs and lets it. So maybe this whole thing is like a Netflix documentary, like a new spin on Dr. Jekyll and Mrs. Hyde.
She dropped empty buzzwords like confetti at a New Year's Eve party, hoping one would stick. But this wasn't Times Square, it was a political roast, and Crockett was the turkey. Her defense strategy seemed to consist entirely of rolling her eyes so hard she risked spraining an optic nerve. Meanwhile, Megyn calmly cited actual bills, voting records, and reality, which Crockett clearly hadn't reviewed since her last viral tweet. It wasn't even close. Crockett came with vibes. Gutfeld and Kelly came with footnotes. There's something almost poetic about the gap between Crockett's self-image and her actual impact. She thinks she's delivering political sermons from Mount Olympus, when, in reality, she's barely operating above Twitter thread energy. After that flaming disaster of a takedown, you'd think Jasmine Crockett might step back and reassess, maybe even open a civics textbook or, dare we dream, read a bill or two. But no, she doubled down like someone who just found out Uno cards can't actually be used in a legal argument and decided to play them in Congress anyway. Reverse, skip, draw 4. Except this time, Greg and Megyn weren't playing games. They were handing out reality checks, and Jasmine's bounced harder than her press conference promises.
She is going to be the gift that keeps on giving.
Yeah.
You are going to be so glad she popped up on the scene.
That's going to make up for the White House Correspondents' Dinner. We're going to get a segment a day from.
She's going to be the gift that keeps on giving. You're going to be so glad she's on the scene. It'll make up for the White House Correspondents' Dinner. We're going to get a segment a day from her.
If you're going to talk about black history, at least know it. At least know it, okay? But it goes back to, that was 45 seconds of some of the, like, Kamala, you good right now. That was some of the dumbest I ever heard in my life. Here's the thing. This goes back to what we talked about earlier. They never have a solution. Just listen to your dumbass talk. You want to talk about agriculture? Why don't you fix the lottery? Why don't you make it easier for people who want to come into this country to work in agriculture and equitation?
You ever seen someone try to dodge accountability by delivering a TED Talk about feelings? That's Jasmine. I feel attacked is not a policy stance. I feel disrespected doesn't build infrastructure, but it does get likes, shares, and just enough outrage to keep the camera rolling. Which, let's be honest, is all she's after. Greg Gutfeld made a particularly surgical observation. Crockett's political engagement is like microwaving a frozen dinner and calling it home. Cooking, all noise, no flavor, and leaves you unsatisfied. She assembles platitudes like IKEA, furniture fast, cheap, and collapses under pressure. Her entire strategy is volume not in substance but in decibels. When in doubt, yell. When cornered, gesture wildly. When wrong, accuse the nearest oxygen molecule of being part of the problem. And yet somehow, she thinks she's Rosa Parks with a ring light. Spoiler alert, Rosa Parks didn't film her activism in portrait mode. Megyn didn't have to swing hard to expose the hollowness, she just had to point. Jasmine's talking points evaporated faster than a campaign promise after Election Day. It's almost poetic. A walking contradiction who demands justice but won't do the homework. Claims oppression while holding a press badge, and protests ignorance while showcasing it like an accessory. Crockett's political weapon of choice is the stare. Yes, that stare, the one she uses when she's completely out of arguments but still trying to convince the room. She has hidden knowledge no one else can access, like a magic 8-ball full of attitude. Unfortunately, Greg and Megyn don't play that game. They've seen it before. It's not power, it's a stall tactic dressed as defiance. The roasting was so complete it didn't even need a rebuttal. Crockett's silence wasn't golden, it was forced. There's a special kind of public collapse. When someone runs out of spin mid-sentence and realizes the applause isn't coming, that's what happened. And let's not pretend this was a rare off day for Jasmine Crockett. This wasn't a bad take, this is the take. Her entire congressional career so far has been a masterclass in loud wrongness. She doesn't walk into the room to contribute, she shows up like it's amateur night at a slam poetry bar and thinks Congress is her open mic. Meanwhile, back in reality where people expect results instead of TikTok tantrums, Gutfeld and Kelly's takedown wasn't just entertaining, it was a much-needed reset. Like someone finally saying, "Hey, can we stop pretending? Vibes equal vision." Because let's be honest, Jasmine Crockett isn't representing constituents. She's farming followers. You'd think after being turned into a meme by two of the sharpest tongues in political commentary, Crockett might lie low, reevaluate, maybe even swap the sass for some substance. But no, she probably tripled down by releasing a statement written in emojis, filmed from the back seat of a Tesla, with a Starbucks cup in one hand and a missed quote of Malcolm X in the other. Let's take a moment to appreciate the full sweep of the destruction. Gutfeld, in his trademark, "I've seen it all and I'm bored of it" tone, peeled Crockett like a banana and pointed out the obvious. If your entire strategy hinges on performative outrage, you're not a politician, you're a YouTube reaction channel in a blazer. Kelly, who could file someone with a glance, didn't just dismantle Crockett's argument, audited her entire political salute, was like watching someone get roasted in Latin and still understand every single word. There's something deliciously brutal about a takedown that's more brain than brawl. Crockett wasn't ready for a mental chess match. She came armed for a slap fight. And here's the punchline. Crockett still thinks she won. That somehow, by surviving the verbal bloodbath, she came out stronger, like a contestant who finishes last on Survivor and insists they played a social game. No, sweetheart. You didn't play anything, you got played.